Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to the Study English Online podcast, the place where real English meets real life. I'm Sophie.
And I'm Ryan. And if you're watching or listening to us right now, first of all, thank you. Genuinely, it means a lot.
It really does, because we know you have 1,000 things you could be doing right now, and you chose to spend this time improving your English. That is not small.
Not small at all. That is actually a big deal. So welcome.
And today's topic is one that I think almost every English learner on the planet has experienced at some point.
At some point, try every single day.
Fair. Every single day. Because today we are talking about something that feels like a total mystery when it's happening to you.
Yes, the mysterious gap, the confusing space between two very different things.
Exactly. Because today's topic is this: why you can understand English perfectly, but the moment you need to speak, your mind goes completely blank.
Ah, there it is.
You know that feeling, right? Someone speaks to you in English, you understand every word, you know what you want to say, you have the idea clearly in your head.
And then, nothing.
Nothing. Silence. Just you, the air, and a face full of panic.
A beautiful, terrified face.
Very beautiful, very terrified. And this experience, this gap between understanding and speaking, it has a name. It's called the receptive-productive gap.
Which sounds very official and academic.
Very official. But what it basically means is that your brain has two different skill sets. One for receiving language, listening, reading, understanding, and a completely different one for producing language, speaking, writing, expressing.
And the gap between those two skill sets can feel enormous.
Enormous is the right word. And the frustrating part is most learners don't even know this gap exists. They just think they're bad at English.
Which is heartbreaking, actually, because they're not bad at English. Their understanding might be incredible. Their vocabulary might be rich. Their grammar knowledge might be solid.
But their brain hasn't yet built the fast, automatic road from thought to speech.
I love that image, a road, because it's not that the destination doesn't exist, it's that the road hasn't been built yet.
Or maybe the road exists, but it's not smooth yet. It's bumpy, it has potholes. You can drive on it, but it's slow and uncomfortable.
And when you're in a real conversation, you don't have time for a bumpy road. You need a highway.
Exactly. A fast, clean, automatic highway from your brain to your mouth. And that highway, that is what we're building today. Not just talking about the problem, but actually understanding how to fix it. And of course, we're doing all of this through natural English conversation. So, as always, don't panic if you miss a word or two. Just stay with us. Let the language flow into you.
Yes, let it settle. You don't need to understand every single word to benefit from this episode. Your brain is picking up patterns, rhythm, vocabulary, and natural expressions even when you don't realize it.
Which is actually the perfect bridge to our topic, right?
Perfectly connected.
So, before we go deeper, let's also say this is approximately a B2 level episode. The language is natural and a little layered, but we'll always keep it warm and clear. You're safe here.
This is a judgment-free zone.
A completely judgment-free zone. Okay, but before we get into the real conversation, we want to ask you something, and please answer in the comments.
Yes, please. We read every comment. Seriously.
Here is the question. Have you ever been in a situation where you understood everything someone said in English, but when it was your turn to speak, you froze?
Or maybe you responded, but it came out wrong, slow, or not the way you wanted.
Tell us, when did that happen? Was it at work, on a trip, in a class, talking to a stranger? We genuinely want to know.
Because your story matters, your experience matters, and hearing from you honestly helps us make better episodes for you.
It really does. All right, and if you're enjoying the Study English Online podcast, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a new episode. We put real heart into every single one.
We do. Okay, Sophie, let's get into it. Let's really dig into this topic.
Let's go. So, Ryan, let's start with something that I think surprises a lot of learners. Because when most people study English, what do they spend most of their time doing?
Reading, listening, watching videos, maybe some grammar exercises.
Right. All of those are input activities. You're receiving information, you're consuming language.
And that is incredibly valuable. Don't misunderstand. Input is essential. You cannot speak what you have never heard.
100%. But here's the thing. Input alone, no matter how much of it you consume, will not automatically make you a fluent speaker.
And this is where a lot of learners feel confused and even a little betrayed. Like, I've been studying for 3 years. I've watched hundreds of videos. Why can't I just speak?
Because watching and speaking use very different parts of your brain and very different muscles, literally and figuratively.
Yes, when you watch or listen, your brain is in a kind of reception mode. It's absorbing, organizing, matching patterns. It's doing a lot of work, but it's essentially passive.
But when you speak, your brain suddenly has to do everything at once. It has to find the right words, build the sentence, think about grammar, manage your pronunciation, keep track of what the other person just said, all in real time, all at the same time.
And it has to do that in less than 2 seconds before the silence becomes awkward.
Under social pressure, while someone is looking at you.
Oh, and while your heart is beating a little faster than normal.
Yes, the stakes feel high. And when the stakes feel high, the brain tends to freeze rather than flow.
So it's not that your English is bad, it's that your brain hasn't practiced the full production process under real conditions often enough.
Beautifully put. And this is so important to understand because so many learners blame themselves. They say, I have no talent for languages, or my memory is bad, or I'm just not a speaking person.
Which is not true. It's not about talent, it's about practice type.
Exactly. You have been practicing the wrong kind of skill for the goal you have. It's like someone who wants to run a marathon and they spend all their time reading books about running. They know everything about running.
But they've never gone outside and actually run.
Right. And then on race day, they're confused why their legs are tired.
Which sounds obvious when you put it that way, but in language learning, people do this all the time without realizing.
All the time. And to be fair, it makes sense because studying, reading, watching, taking notes, it feels productive. It feels safe. You're improving and no one can judge you.
Ah, and there it is, the word I was waiting for, safe.
Yes, because speaking is not safe in the same way. Speaking is vulnerable. You put your words out into the world and someone can hear them and judge them.
And for many learners, that fear of judgment, that speaking anxiety is enormous, sometimes much bigger than the actual language gap.
Oh, absolutely. I think speaking anxiety is one of the most underestimated challenges in language learning.
Because it's not just about language, it's psychological, it's emotional, it's connected to how you see yourself.
Yes, when you speak a language badly, you can feel, for a moment, like a less intelligent, less capable version of yourself. And that feeling is incredibly uncomfortable.
And so the brain does a very logical but very unhelpful thing. It says, if speaking makes you feel bad, let's just not speak.
Problem solved, unfortunately.
Very unfortunately, because the only way to get better at speaking is to speak.
Which feels like a cruel joke.
It does. It really does. You have to do the scary thing to stop being scared of the scary thing.
But here's the good news, and we do have good news. The fear shrinks every single time you do it anyway.
Every single time. You speak once, even badly, even nervously, and your brain records that information. It says, we survived that.
We did it. Nobody died.
Nobody left the room in disgust.
The world continued spinning.
And gradually, your brain starts to trust the process a little more. The fear doesn't disappear overnight, but it becomes smaller. It takes up less space.
And you start to realize something powerful, that people don't judge imperfect English as harshly as you imagine they do.
This is such a big one because in your head, you imagine everyone is listening to every mistake, every mispronounced word, every grammatical error, and mentally grading you.
Like there's a hidden scorecard.
A detailed scorecard.
With red marks. But in reality, most people are just trying to understand your meaning. That's it. They want to know what you're trying to say.
Exactly. Communication is about connection, not perfection, and most people appreciate the effort of someone trying to speak their language more than they notice the mistakes.
So that fear of judgment, a lot of it is a story we tell ourselves. And like all stories, it can be changed.
It can be rewritten. Slowly, yes, but it can be done.
Okay, so let's talk about the internal experience for a moment, because I want to talk about something that almost every intermediate learner experiences, and it's incredibly frustrating.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say.
It's the experience of thinking in your first language first, and then translating into English.
Ah, yes, the translation trap.
The translation trap is real, and here's what it looks like. Someone asks you a question in English. First, you understand the question in English, great. Then you think of your answer in your native language. Then you try to translate that answer into English. Then you check if the translation sounds right. Then you say it.
By which time the conversation has moved on.
Or you've missed the moment. Or you've said something that is technically correct but doesn't sound natural at all.
Because you were doing 4 mental processes in the time a fluent speaker does 1.
Exactly. And this is exhausting. People say learning a language is tiring. This is why. Not because English is so hard, but because the brain is working 4 times as hard as it needs to.
So how do you get out of the translation trap? How do you start thinking directly in English?
Great question. And it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. But there are things that genuinely help. The first and most important one is you have to start thinking in English in your daily life, not just when you study.
Yes, this is huge. Use English as a tool for thinking, not just for studying.
For example, when you wake up in the morning and you think, I'm hungry, I want coffee, say those words in English in your mind. When you're walking and you see something, narrate it in English. There's a red car. The sky looks gray today. That building is very tall.
It sounds simple, maybe even a little silly, but it works.
It really works, because every time you think directly in English, you are training your brain to skip the translation step.
You're building a direct connection, a more direct road, to go back to our earlier image.
Exactly. And over time, not immediately, but over time, that direct road becomes smoother, faster, more automatic.
And you notice that conversations start to feel slightly less terrifying. You start to respond a little faster. The words come a little more naturally.
And that feeling, that shift, it's one of the most rewarding feelings in language learning. When something clicks and you realize, I just said that without translating first.
It's like a little victory, a quiet, private, enormous victory.
A very personal one. And those private victories are worth celebrating.
Absolutely worth it. Okay, so we've talked about the receptive-productive gap, we've talked about speaking anxiety, we've talked about the translation trap. Now let's talk about something a little different.
Yes, let's talk about the perfectionism problem.
Oh, okay, this one is going to hurt some people.
A little, just a little. Because here's what happens with perfectionism in language learning. A lot of learners, especially intelligent, dedicated learners, set an impossibly high standard for themselves before they're willing to speak.
Like they won't speak until their English is perfect.
Which means they will wait forever, because there is no perfect. Not for native speakers. Not for anyone.
Even native speakers make mistakes, use informal language, mispronounce things sometimes, and don't always find the perfect word.
Always. That is normal. That is human language. It's messy and imperfect and real.
But the perfectionist learner looks at their messy, imperfect attempt and says, not good enough. I need to study more before I speak.
And they go back to studying, which is comfortable and safe, but which is not what they need at that stage.
Because at a certain point, studying more isn't the answer. Practicing more, speaking more, that's the answer.
Exactly. There comes a point in language learning where your problem is not lack of knowledge, your problem is lack of output experience. You need to get your English out of your head and into the world.
And imperfectly is fine. Imperfectly is actually better than not at all.
100 times better, because a real conversation with mistakes teaches you more than 100 grammar exercises done perfectly.
Real conversations show you the gaps you didn't know you had.
Real conversations show you what you actually need to practice, not what a textbook tells you to practice.
And here's the thing about mistakes in speaking. They are not permanent. They don't stay on your record.
You said it wrong, someone gently corrected you, or maybe they understood anyway. The conversation moved on. The sky didn't fall.
And next time you probably said it better because your brain remembered the correction.
Mistakes are data. They're information. They tell you exactly where to focus your energy.
But you only get that information when you actually speak. When you stay in the safe zone of studying, you never find out what you actually need.
So, dear perfectionist listener, and I say this with so much love, your English doesn't need to be perfect to be useful. It just needs to be enough to communicate.
And enough to communicate is already brilliant, already beautiful, already worth sharing with the world.
Yes, please believe that.
We genuinely mean it. Okay, so let's shift again, because I want to talk about something called passive vocabulary versus active vocabulary, because I think this explains so much of the understanding but not speaking gap.
Yes, this is one of my favorite concepts in language learning. Okay, so Sophie, can you explain these two things? Absolutely. So your passive vocabulary is the vocabulary you understand when you see it or hear it. When someone uses the word reluctant in a sentence, you understand it. You've seen it before. You know what it means.
But your active vocabulary is the vocabulary you can actually use when you're speaking or writing, the words that come to you naturally, automatically, without needing to think about them.
And here's the fascinating thing. Most learners have a passive vocabulary that is much, much larger than their active vocabulary.
Sometimes 3 or 4 times larger.
Yes, you might understand 5,000 words, but only use 1,500 naturally in speech.
Which means there are thousands of words living inside your head that you've never actually used in a real conversation.
Words you've seen in books, heard in podcasts, studied in lessons, but never practiced saying.
And words that stay only in your passive vocabulary, they're not available quickly. When you need them in a fast conversation, they don't come.
It's like they live in a different room of your brain, a room you can visit slowly when you're reading, but not quickly when you're speaking.
So, how do you move words from passive to active?
You use them deliberately, repeatedly, in context. You don't just learn a new word and move on. You practice saying it. You use it in a sentence. You try to use it in a real conversation that week.
You make it yours. You don't rent the word, you own it.
I love that. Don't rent the word, own it. That should be a motto.
Study English Online motto, own your words.
Actually, yes, because ownership, that active personal relationship with a word, that's when language starts to feel like yours, not like something foreign that belongs to someone else.
And that shift, when English starts to feel like something you own, not something you borrow, that is a real turning point in fluency.
It really is, because fluency isn't about being perfect. Fluency is about feeling comfortable enough to express yourself without feeling paralyzed.
Because that comfort comes from use, from getting your English out of theory and into practice.
From making mistakes and surviving them.
From having a clumsy conversation and realizing, hey, that wasn't so bad actually.
From noticing that the other person smiled and understood you, even if your sentence wasn't perfect.
Those moments build something, slowly but surely. They build confidence.
And confidence is honestly one of the most important ingredients in spoken fluency, maybe the most important.
Because you can know a lot of English and still not be able to use it if you don't feel confident enough to try.
And you can have imperfect English, but a confident attitude, and communicate beautifully.
We've all seen this. The person who doesn't know every grammar rule, but speaks with energy and warmth and is completely understood.
Yes, personality and confidence carry so much. Language is a human thing, and humans connect with energy, warmth, and authenticity, not grammatical perfection.
All right, let's talk about some real practical things people can do. Because we've diagnosed the problem, now let's talk about what to actually do about it.
Yes, let's be practical. Tip number 1, and this is the most important one, speak every day, even for 5 minutes.
5 minutes is not nothing. 5 minutes of actual speaking practice is worth more than an hour of passive listening when it comes to developing your speaking ability.
You can talk to yourself. You can narrate your day. You can describe what you're doing. You can summarize a video you watched. You can answer questions you find online.
You can speak to a mirror. You can record yourself on your phone.
Oh, recording yourself. This is incredibly useful. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first. Nobody loves hearing their own voice.
Nobody, not even people who love talking.
But when you listen back, you hear things you didn't notice while you were speaking. You hear where you hesitate. You hear words you're mispronouncing. You hear patterns in your mistakes.
And you hear progress. Because if you record yourself today and then again in 3 months, you will hear a difference.
You will hear yourself growing, and that is powerful motivation.
Tip number 2. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. You don't need a language partner, a classroom, or a special app to practice speaking.
You need a voice and something to say. That's it. Practice wherever you are. In the car, in the kitchen, in the shower, walking to work.
English doesn't only live in classrooms. It can live in your everyday life, in small moments, all day long.
Tip number 3, focus on phrases, not just words.
When you learn new vocabulary, don't just learn the word, learn the phrase it lives in.
Because words in real conversations don't come alone. They come with partners. They have patterns. They have collocations. That means words that naturally go together.
For example, don't just learn the word decision. Learn make a decision. It was a tough decision. I've made up my mind. Learn the word in its natural environment.
That way, when you need the word in conversation, the whole phrase comes with it, ready to use, already packaged.
Like a gift, a helpful language gift.
A very practical gift.
Tip number 4, find a speaking partner or a community because nothing replaces real human interaction.
And there are so many ways to find this now. Online communities, language exchange apps, video call conversation groups, comment sections of podcasts like this one.
Hint, hint.
Very big hint. Use the comment section. Practice your English there. We always read the comments. We always respond when we can.
And our comment section is a kind section. No one is judging, everyone is learning.
Exactly. If you want to practice writing English, start in the comments. If you want to practice expressing ideas, start in the comments. It's a safe place to try.
And tip number 5, this one is mental, not technical. Change your definition of success in speaking.
Oh, I love this one. Because for a lot of learners, success in speaking means I spoke perfectly and made no mistakes.
But that is an impossible standard and an unfair one.
A more helpful definition of success is I expressed my idea. The other person understood me. The conversation moved forward.
That's it. That's the goal. Not perfection, communication.
And by that definition, most imperfect, nervous, mistake-filled attempts at speaking are actually successes.
Most of them, genuinely.
So redefine what winning looks like, because if you only feel good about perfect English, you will almost never feel good, and that's no way to learn.
It's no way to live, honestly. Life is too short to be afraid of speaking.
Too short and too interesting. There are too many good conversations waiting for you.
Too many good people to meet, ideas to share, places to navigate, stories to tell.
Don't let a fear of imperfection keep you silent when you have things worth saying.
Because you do. You have things worth saying. In English, in any language, your thoughts, your experiences, your perspective, they matter.
And the world deserves to hear them. Okay, now let's do what we always love to do on Study English Online. Let's slow down and look at some of the key words and expressions we used in today's episode.
Yes, because today's episode had some really rich language. Some of these phrases you might have heard and thought, I kind of understand that, but I couldn't explain it.
And that is exactly the passive to active vocabulary bridge we were talking about. So let's bring some of these words from passive to active right now.
Perfect. Let's start with a phrase from today, receptive-productive gap.
Receptive-productive gap refers to the difference between the language you can understand and the language you can produce yourself. It's the space between knowing and doing. For example, her receptive-productive gap was large. She understood everything but struggled to reply quickly.
Repeat, receptive-productive gap.
Receptive-productive gap. Next, speaking anxiety.
Speaking anxiety means the fear or nervousness you feel when you need to speak, especially in a foreign language or in front of others. It's not just shyness, it's a real emotional response that affects your ability to perform. For example, even after years of study, her speaking anxiety made real conversations feel terrifying.
Or, he knew the answer, but his speaking anxiety made him go silent. Repeat, speaking anxiety.
Speaking anxiety. Next, the translation trap.
The translation trap is when you think in your native language first and then translate into English, instead of thinking directly in English. This slows your speaking down significantly. For example, she was caught in the translation trap, and by the time she found the words, the moment had passed.
Or, the best way to escape the translation trap is to practice thinking in English daily. Repeat, translation trap.
Translation trap. Next, a word we used naturally throughout, perfectionism.
Perfectionism in language learning means refusing to speak or try until your language is flawless. It is the belief that anything less than perfect is not good enough. For example, his perfectionism stopped him from speaking English, even though his level was already advanced.
Or, she struggled with perfectionism. She rewrote every email 5 times before sending. Repeat, perfectionism.
Perfectionism. Next, passive vocabulary and active vocabulary.
Your passive vocabulary is all the words you understand when you hear them or read them. Your active vocabulary is all the words you actually use when speaking or writing. For example, most learners have a much larger passive vocabulary than active vocabulary.
Or, to improve fluency, you need to transfer words from your passive vocabulary to your active vocabulary. Repeat passive vocabulary and active vocabulary.
Passive vocabulary, active vocabulary. Next, a really useful adjective, vulnerable.
Vulnerable means exposed to the possibility of being criticized, hurt, or judged. When you speak a language imperfectly in public, you feel vulnerable because others can hear your mistakes. For example, speaking a new language makes you feel vulnerable because you can't control how you sound.
Or, being vulnerable takes courage, but it's also how connection happens. Repeat, vulnerable.
Vulnerable. Next, collocation.
A collocation is a pair or group of words that naturally and commonly go together in a language. Native speakers use them automatically. For example, make a decision is a collocation. You say make a decision, not do a decision.
Or, learning collocations helps your English sound more natural and fluent. Repeat, collocation.
Collocation. Next, a really powerful phrase, in real time.
In real time means as something is actually happening, immediately, live, without delay. For example, fluent speakers produce language in real time, without pausing to translate.
Or during a real conversation, you have to think and respond in real time. Repeat, in real time.
In real time. Next, to hesitate.
To hesitate means to pause before doing or saying something, usually because you're uncertain, nervous, or unsure. For example, she hesitated before answering, looking for the right words.
Or, he used to hesitate a lot in conversations, but now he responds more confidently. Repeat, to hesitate.
To hesitate. And finally, a phrase we used with a lot of heart, to own something.
In this context, to own something doesn't mean to possess it physically. It means to fully claim it, use it confidently, and make it yours. For example, don't just know English words, own them, use them, make them part of how you think.
Or, she owned the language. She spoke with confidence and didn't apologize for her accent. Repeat, to own something.
To own something. And those were the key words and expressions from today's episode. Give yourself a moment to sit with those. Maybe even write one or two of them in the comments using a sentence of your own.
Yes, that is actually the best practice you can do right now. Take one word today and use it in a comment. That is active vocabulary practice happening in real time.
See what we did there?
Very smooth. Thank you. Okay, so before we close today, let's bring everything together. What is the heart of today's message?
The heart of today's message is this. If you can understand English but struggle to speak it, you are not broken. You are not bad at languages. You are not hopeless.
You are simply at a stage where your understanding has grown faster than your speaking practice, and that gap is fixable, completely, absolutely fixable.
And the fix is not more studying. The fix is more doing, more speaking, more outputting, more imperfect, brave, real attempts at using English.
Every conversation you have, no matter how short, no matter how messy, is a step toward the fluency you want.
And every time you speak, despite the fear, despite the imperfection, despite the doubt, you are building something real.
You are building a version of yourself that can communicate, connect, and express in English. And that version is closer than you think.
It really is. Don't let perfectionism tell you otherwise. Don't let anxiety keep you quiet.
Your English is enough to start, and starting is everything.
So speak today, even one sentence, even to yourself, even quietly.
Start the road, build the highway, one small, imperfect, beautiful word at a time.
And we'll be here every step of the way.
Every single step.
This has been the Study English Online podcast. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Sophie. Thank you so much for spending this time with us today.
If this episode helped you even a little, please like it, share it, and subscribe to the channel. It makes a huge difference.
And leave us a comment. Tell us your story. When did you feel the gap between understanding and speaking? We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time, keep going, keep speaking, keep growing.
You've got this.
Bye for now.
Bye.